Perfect. Thanks, John. Thank you, everybody. Very excited to have you here at this webinar today. We're going to be talking about customer attrition. More importantly, what are the warning signs and some things about discussing what you can do about it as you start to notice this. But first and foremost, want to give you guys a brief introduction. My name is Richard Wick. John said we have Chris Blount here. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Storage at the Storage Commander. Chris is our Senior Account Executive for Storage Commander. For those who may not know about Storage Commander, we are a software company that's been in the industry for over 20 years. We recently just released our newest product in March called SC Navigator. It is a fully cloud-based platform designed to drive financial performance and, more importantly, built on a platform for modern architecture that delivers significant cost savings. A couple of things here for today, the agenda. We just did the introduction, so next we're going to talk about the cost of attrition. Then we're going to go through the warning signs, and then we're going to go through what you can do now as you start to recognize some of these warning signs, and then we'll conclude with some Q&A. So first and foremost, as you guys well know, there is a significant cost to losing a single customer, but there's also a significant cost to obtaining a customer. And so the first thing we talk about is the cost to acquire, CAC. When we talk about customer acquisition costs, we're simply measuring the total investment it takes to get one paying customer. What we see in the industry based on our sources is that can be about a month or two of rent a new customer would typically pay. So around $200 to $400 of an investment to acquire a customer. And then we also look at the cost of attrition. The cost of attrition, we look at the lost lifetime value, the LTV. On average in the industry, we see customers staying at a facility for about 17 and a half months. Some portfolios have 3+ years average stay. So when we look at this, we really calculate it to be based on the average monthly rent of around $85 to $96, a $1,500 to $1,700 LTV. So in lost revenue. So if you take the cost to acquire plus the LTV, you have a significant amount of revenue and investment in these customers. And so why we think this topic is really important is, number one, losing even a few customers will clearly cost you thousands of dollars. But number two, just equally as important, if you're really looking at these signs and utilizing the tools that we talk about today, you may also be able to anticipate a customer that no matter what you do is going to vacate your property, and you can preemptively start to work on acquiring another customer. And we feel that if you do that preemptively and you can plan for it, you can cut the cost to acquire down because you're not reactively doing it. So that's where we kind of start with the cost. And what we really want to dive into next is the signs of attrition. And I'm going to hand that off to Chris for him to speak about these.
Perfect. Thanks, Richard. Yeah, as he mentioned, we're going to talk on the signs of attrition, and we're going to focus on 4 points today. First point being customer experiences, and we'll go into facility usage, billing events, and new competitors. So we'll review each of these individually now, starting with customer experience. How do your customers really feel about your business? It's important to remember those small things, but also it's important to look at these subpoints and understand how to resolve them. So negative reviews. You don't want to just look at the star ratings. You want to try to read between the lines, look for frustration or disappointment. This can often signal unmet expectations or poor communication. It's important to act fast, respond publicly with empathy, and resolve the matter privately with action. You can turn a negative reviewer into a happy customer, and it can be one of your strongest retention wins and often turn into a referral source. If you notice disengagement from promotions or surveys, when customers stop participating, it's often because they've emotionally checked out. It could mean they don't see the value in your communication or they are already exploring other options. And then you can use this as a cue to personalize your outreach. Experience complaints, they are often feedback in disguise. They're telling you, where your process or your people are falling short. A rise in similar complaints can often mean a systematic issue, not necessarily a one-off. And it's important to track and categorize your complaints to find patterns and then communicate improvements that you're making back to your customers. And then if your store managers are hearing from the tenants about cross shopping, if they're comparing you to competitors, that is an early warning sign that they may be trying to or maybe thinking about leaving. They're not gone yet, but they're evaluating. It's important that you ask, why they're looking elsewhere. Is it the price? Is it features? Is it convenience? Is it, the technology offerings? You can use this insight to highlight your unique values and close the gaps in your offering. The next point is going to be the facility usage. Are they acting differently? A sudden increase or decrease in access frequency can often signal a customer fleeing. If there's a sharp change in how often the customer accesses their unit, it can indicate shifting needs. A decrease may signal disengagement or planning to move out, whereas an increase may hint that they are overusing or they're dissatisfied. You can track these trends and check in proactively. SC Navigator actually has the technology working with some of the gate vendors to track these trends real time, giving you access to that data so you can flag customers that might be potential churn risk. If you notice that moving boxes arrive at the unit, this is a physical sign and is often just as important as digital signs, such as reviews. This could indicate preparation to downsize, move, or potentially switch facilities. Treat this as an early opportunity to ask if they need assistance or if they're considering other options. If they've viewed your move out FAQ page on your website, this is also a good sign that they may be wanting to leave. This is your direct digital evidence that they have intent. If you have marketing services, with our marketing services team, we can actually track who's gone to what page and clicked on what options from the website, so you know exactly who's planning to or who might be planning to move out based off of clicking on that page. You could consider a targeted outreach with this. Hey, we noticed you were checking our moved out information. How can we help? It helps re-engage and possibly retain before it's too late. And then the last warning sign for facility usage is, if they haven't logged into the customer portal for more than 60 days. Lack of portal engagement signals disengagement or reduced satisfaction. It may also indicate your communication or online experience isn't compelling. Use inactivity as a trigger for personalized outreach. And with us here at Storage Commander, we have the ability to kind of help you with finding out who has been inactive online and help you set up those personalized outreaches. Next is going to be your billing events. It's important to look at the numbers. The most obvious sign of a customer disengaging from you, comes with the payments they make or perhaps the payments they don't make. And so here's a few points that are important to keep in mind. If they are a new tenant, they had perhaps an introductory rate that has recently expired. This is a potential flag or should be a warning sign to you. If they start paying full price, or maybe in the event that they get a rate increase, it's important that you know that this alone may not trigger churn, but combined with other disengagement signs, it could be a red flag. Consider a targeted loyalty offer to remind them of the value that you bring to them. If you have a customer that hasn't accepted an open renewal or loyalty offer, this could indicate hesitation or uncertainty about continuing. Follow up personally to understand objections and reinforce benefits. If they've accessed their online account but they did not make a payment, this shows, intent without follow through. It could signal financial stress or potentially dissatisfaction. And that when that occurs, it'd be important to prompt a gentle reminder or a check-in to see if they need assistance. With SC Navigator, we can have those gentle reminders, sent automatically, letting them know, hey, we saw that you logged in but didn't make a payment. Is there anything I can help with? Um, if they've switched the method of payment or perhaps their auto pay is now declining, these could signal a change in engagement or convenience preference. It could hint at an intent to leave if it's combined with other warning signs. And another change in profile, which may be the biggest trigger, is if you've noticed, hey, they were previously on time, now they've started to consistently go late. This could trigger or flag that they may be leaving. Often the first subtle sign of disengagement or financial pressure. And then it's important to track the trends to address them early. Sometimes simple outreach prevents churn. If it feels like they're pulling away, they probably are, and that's your cue to check in. And then the last area that we want to focus on today is going to be new competitors popping up in your area. This is something that we see all over the United States right now and even into other countries as storage is becoming more and more popular. So who is growing their footprint in your area? It's important to know your competitors. Are there REITs entering your area? Large, well-capitalized competitors can attract your best customers. They have the ability to do things that smaller operators just don't have the capacity to do. It's important that you track new activity from the REITs and assess what makes them appealing. Do you have a shrinking radius due to new builds? New facilities nearby can fragment your market share. It can draw away from your perimeter, your search perimeter, and may need you to start narrowing that down. Monitor occupancy trends and proximity-based churn risk. Competitors making lowball offers to your new customers. If there's a price-driven approach, that you notice, that could be a potential churn signal for you. Evaluate whether retention incentives or value differentiation is needed. And then if you notice that the average rents are falling, this could indicate oversupply or weaker demand. Compare against your rates and promotions to ensure that you're staying competitive. And then, is there more business flowing to another competitor instead of from them to you? If more customers are going to a competitor, the market share, might be slipping. You can track referrals and lead sources within SC Navigator to understand, what promotions are working, where your customers are coming from, so that way you can shift how your business flows and make sure that you're capturing the business in the areas and locations that are proving fruitful. And then the last is to, do former customers tell you where they are going and why? Do you do exit surveys? Direct feedback is invaluable for understanding churn drivers. You may not be able to prevent somebody from moving out, but if you can understand why they moved out, you may be able to implement things that can help prevent other customers from moving out. So with SC Navigator, we can work with you to set up an exit survey that goes out to the customers as the move out is processed so that you can understand why they moved out and if there was anything that you could do to keep them as a customer longer. And so that's leads us right into what you can do. And so setting and exceeding customer expectations, even with billing increases, can nip attrition in the bud. If you are regularly monitoring your billing behavior and reach out to customers, showing changes, that can be a huge thing. You want to build loyalty through appreciation efforts, like birthdays, anniversaries, military appreciation. If you are collecting these sort of things during the rental process, use the benefits of SC Navigator to help automatically send those communications out so that you can stay involved in what's going on with your tenants. And another useful idea might be to host open houses, where you can bring the community together on the property to do, whether it's a toy drive or a fundraiser or just have some food trucks and open the open the gate to allow people to see, what you have to offer. Encourage retention with referrals and stay on incentives, and clearly define the service standards. Work with your team to understand what capacity you have and how quickly you can respond to certain matters, and then exceed them constantly. That's going to, help address any negative reviews, and it's going to put a good taste in your customer's mouth. And then in conclusion, knowledge is power. The right technology platform can be your partner in customer retention and the anticipation of churn. It is going to be important to consider, and ask yourself the following questions. Do customer complaints go unnoticed internally and externally? Does your website provide intelligence that flags unusual customer activity? How easily can I adjust price increases and payment fees to suit a customer profile? And can you score your customers based on a risk profile and respond proactively? You can also ask yourself, does your management software put you in a position to succeed when it comes to notifying you of customer churn or giving you the ability to spot when someone may be leaving or have one foot out the door? We did put together a a quiz that I believe most of you should have gotten if you did register ahead of time for this webinar. This quiz is something that you should go through and fill out to see where you rank, and it's something that you should do maybe on a quarterly or semi-annual basis so you can make sure that you're making progress and headed in the right direction. You can, if you did not receive this, scan the QR code. It'll take you to a place where you can learn more as well as take the quiz. But when you score this quiz, in a perfect scenario, you'll be in that 1 to 5 checked boxes range. That means you're in great shape and you have all the tools and the technology in place. It doesn't mean that you can't improve that, and we are certainly here to help you with that. But it means that you are doing a great job. If you score 6 to 12, it might be time to take a look at your operation and see what little tweaks and changes we can make to help prevent future losses. And then if you do score higher than 15, we are available, Richard and myself, to sit down with you and talk to you about SC Navigator and the products that we have to see if we can help get you back on track, or using some of the tools that we talked about today to just help drive customer retention and customer satisfaction. And so we do really appreciate your time today during this webinar. We do want to open it up to any questions. If you do have any, I think the mics are still going to be muted, so feel free to drop a question into the chat, and we'll go ahead and respond to those as we see them.
Yeah, definitely. We'll read them out loud so that everybody hears what the questions are, and then we'll respond. So, as Chris said, we definitely want engagement. We feel like this is an important topic. So, by all means, if you have any questions, post them, and we'll answer them.
I think this will conclude the presentation. I'm not sure that there are questions.
Yeah, if there are no questions, please feel free to reach out to Richard or myself. You can go to our website, storagecommander.com, and request to fill out information. And one of us will be in touch to help you either get you the quiz so you can assess your current operation, or talk to you about SE Navigator and the products we have to offer.
Thank you for attending.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.